Saw all of it. I think people in Washington, D.C. certainly did. But it was interesting. It was on the road. That's always tougher. It was Joe Burrow in a make or break for the season game for Cincinnati. It was national TV. By the end of the game, it was a standalone game as an underdog. And the kid goes 21-23, 142 passer rating, 3 total touchdowns. He honestly looked brilliant. Back-to-back games, Washington's offense, no punts and no turnovers. Anybody else watch that game and kind of think to themselves, do we got a C.J. Stroud thing going on where the number 2 quarterback pick is way better than the number 1 pick? Now, Caleb Williams is a much bigger, stronger athlete than Bryce Young. He looks the part, and he's gotten gradually better. But if you start looking at the numbers, most of the time with these young quarterback stars, we knew Burrow, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert first game. Even when Mahomes wasn't playing, you were getting reports and video was leaking on how good Mahomes was as he was sitting backing up. Lamar Jackson, you were hearing reports about, and that's what we had with Jayden Daniels. With Jayden Daniels, you were getting reports very early on. Dan Quinn is like, and usually coaches slow play a young quarterback. Well, it's a process. You didn't get that with Jayden Daniels. Dan Quinn was like, it's kind of blowing us away. Cliff Kingsbury's like, multiple times Kingsbury went to a podium. This is the opposite of what you do with rookie quarterbacks. It was like, yeah, I can't. And this guy does everything right. His accuracy's insane. That's what they did with like Andrew Luck. When Kobe Fleener, a tight end for the Colts, went on record like 2 weeks into camp and said he memorized the playbook in 2 days. I went to Stanford. It took me a month. Like that's what people said about Elway. That's what people said. I mean, we're still waiting for that stuff from Trevor Lawrence. In camp, Washington couldn't control themselves. And Kingsbury's been around long enough to know, don't hype a young quarterback. And Kingsbury couldn't help himself. And Dan Quinn couldn't help himself. These are not like rookie coaches that are over their skis or Deion Sanders trying to change the culture in college. And if you look at Caleb and Jayden Daniels, there are 2 things that are not disputable. Caleb is very inaccurate. Jayden is crazy accurate. It's not like close. And Caleb is very turnover prone. And Jayden never turns the ball over. Like, those are big things. So it's one of those, I mean, C.J. Stroud by his 6th game and Bryce Young by his 3rd, we're like, yeah, I've seen enough to know that guy at 2 is just going to be better than the 1 guy. Now, the 1 guy may get better. He may get a better coach. But the 2 guys, great now. You're watching Jayden Daniels Monday night. It's like, yeah, that's all I need to see. They're only going to get better on the offensive line. They're only going to get better. Like, this is the start of it, and Washington can't control themselves. Their announcers can't control themselves. Dan Quinn. So I don't know. I don't know what it means for Caleb Williams, but I'm finding myself with Caleb, and he's better than Bryce Young. I'm not saying it's that, but I am finding myself 1 year later saying the same stuff. Well, he's got to get the right coach. He's got to get a better offensive line. So I said about Bryce Young. And I think Caleb's much better than Bryce Young. But I mean, Dan Quinn on the ascension of Jayden Daniels.
I definitely understand, like, our fan base has been waiting, for the franchise QB. And but I also want Jayden feeling any ghosts, making sure he understands there's only one name on the back of that jersey, and that's for him. And I don't want any comparison or any of the other stuff. I think it was the Teddy Roosevelt quote, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, but it's really hard when you do what we do to watch Jayden and watch Caleb. And, like, it's not subtle or nuanced. It's, like, really accurate, not accurate. No turnovers, lots of turnovers. Great judgment, not great judgment. Like, it's getting like last year. It's getting really wide really quickly. J-Mac with the news.
Okay. So I'm so on the fence how I want to take this. Because, Colin asked the question, what does this say about Caleb? And I've been saying, for the longest time, can we just talk about Jayden without bringing up Caleb? But I understand why, QB1, QB2, in terms of in the draft. And because to me, it says nothing about Caleb because it's, in a lot of ways, it's irrelevant, right? What Jayden Daniels is doing is irrelevant to Caleb Williams, quite frankly. Jayden Daniels, not only has he been supported more from a coaching standpoint than Caleb Williams, and so that matters. That really does matter. But also, Jayden Daniels just gets it too, right? He's processing the game and anticipating way better than Caleb Williams right now. And so we can just talk about that, about, Jayden. We can just talk about that in its own individual context. It's like when we talk about how great Joe Burrow is or Josh Allen, right? Like, do we always have to bring it up and bring up another quarterback, right? And say, look how Josh Allen throws relative to Dak Prescott or something, right? Like, you don't do that necessarily. We do that in the comment section and stuff when people are trying to debate who's, the better quarterback and stuff. And I get it, right? Because I do, right? Caleb Williams was drafted so high, number 1 pick, and was seen as the next Patrick Mahomes. And I always feel like I need to say this in any of these clips, because I do think Caleb Williams will be great. And I think the future is so bright from a quarterbacking position in terms of all these young quarterbacks, right? Whether it's CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, Caleb, Jayden, and it's going to be so fun to see them all just mesh together and still have to fight, I guess, now the old heads of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And, that's going to be fun. And the NFC East is going to be fun because you have Jayden and Jalen and even Dak. And it's just going to be fun, right? And still New York doing whatever they're doing over there. And so I personally find it exciting. I don't need to constantly try to compare quarterbacks and say who's better or who's worse just to kind of elevate a quarterback. That's just me personally. But it is funny to see people, with all that said, with all those caveats, it is funny to see people just kind of process in real time of like, Jayden's really good. And Caleb, this guy who we said has to like save the NFL, is not playing so well right now, right? Like, there was just such massive hype about Caleb Williams, and I was part of it. I was. I'm not gonna deny it. But I was also trying to push the hype of Jayden Daniels, and my record is very loud and clear on that. Go, feel free to look it up. I will not show you all my receipts anymore because I don't want to keep doing that every single video. But I just think with Jayden Daniels, and that's what Colin now said, and I don't understand why people weren't saying this before, of like, yeah, Monday Night Football on the road, and that is still Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, right, just lethal, and Jayden just answered the call, man. He was just there for it, and he could handle it, and the whole team could handle it, quite frankly, and the coaching staff could handle it, and it was just so great. Like, I'm still in that little bubble of that moment, quite frankly, because it was awesome. It was one of the best games I watched. I watched all the games, and it was one of the best games I watched all year, quite frankly. It was just awesome. And the thing that I was thinking about is when you think about it like this, for Jayden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, Jayden is already better than established starting quarterbacks who have already gotten paid money, right? Jayden is already better than, say, Trevor Lawrence, right? He's better than Caleb Williams right now. Again, maybe Caleb Williams can start to grow and be better himself, but as of right now, he's better than the number 1 overall pick. He's better than Baker Mayfield, right? He's better than Daniel Jones. He's better. Like, I can't think of every single quarterback right now, but he's better than a lot of quarterbacks. Like, if we had the draft right now with all of the quarterbacks in the pool, a lot of people are going to be picking Jayden. A lot of people are going to pick Jayden Daniels, right? They just are. And so it's just so fascinating to see this all unfold. He is still going to have bad moments. Like, I am still waiting for that, and maybe it won't happen, right? Like, Greg Jennings said this on First Things First, where he's like, maybe it just won't happen. I still think it will, because it happens to all quarterbacks, whether you're a rookie or not, right? It happens to Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. It happens to everyone. So I'm waiting to see when Jayden has a really bad game, back to back, which is really bad drives, and seeing how he bounced back. I think he will bounce back fine, right? I think it's not like I need to see that to see if he can handle it. I just want to see it. I just want to see it, right? And I want to see the growth that then comes from that, right? Every quarterback needs to blow a game. Every quarterback needs to have the ball with a couple minutes left and throw an interception. Like, has there ever been a legit top, truly top quarterback in the NFL to not just lose the game, to not throw a 4th and long incompletion that was just not even close. Like, every single quarterback has experienced that moment. And I'm excited for Jayden to kind of start to face some of this more adversity, because he faced some of the adversity against the Bengals, and he thrived with flying colors. And so that's going to help him grow. You grow from both the good and the bad. There's kind of the thing where people talk about where, like, you only grow from your mistakes, and I don't really believe that. You're growing from both. The mistakes, of course, really hit hard, and sometimes the really good can kind of be misleading sometimes, right? And you start to feel or see things that maybe aren't 100% true, which is why we see celebrities just not be able to accurately view the world, because it's just, so many good things are happening to them. And so you do need to be humbled. It needs to be well-rounded. And I think, maybe it'll happen in the playoffs, right? Because it feels like that's kind of what happened to CJ Stroud in a lot of ways, right? They rock the Browns, and they're obviously feeling great. And they could have beaten the Ravens. That first half was definitely close. But then Lamar Jackson and the Ravens really just took over, and it was clear that they were just ready. They were in a better position, and even Lamar Jackson, for that matter, was in a better position to just be able to be like, I can take over this game in a way that you're not capable of yet, right? Like, you're just not. And I'm sure that was incredibly humbling for CJ Stroud, just to be like, I can't do this now. Like, I felt it against the Browns, and we were rocking and rolling, and it was like, all right, let's go. But then I just couldn't get there. And the best case scenario for the Commanders, outside of, I guess, just being a complete phenom and winning the Super Bowl this year, which I'm sorry is probably not going to happen. The best case scenario for the Commanders is to really follow then what happened with CJ Stroud, right? Keep winning these games, keep learning, get to the playoffs, hopefully get a playoff win on the road, right? And also kind of similar trajectory of the Green Bay Packers. Then you lose. And again, it ends up, and this is what I said about the Packers and CJ Stroud and the Texans, is that it ends up expediting the progress so much, because you already now got some of this playoff experience. You felt what it was like to win in the playoffs. You felt what it was like to lose in the playoffs. And now this second year, like, you're prepared, you're ready. You've already experienced so much that the NFL has to offer. You've already experienced so much of what the playoffs are all about. And now the next level is just to, like, get to that championship game, get to the Super Bowl, whatever it may be. And I just think, the Commanders are actually in a position to do that, right? And I think we're seeing this team right now with Jayden, and he's not even right now the best of his own rookie campaign. I made a video recently saying, like, this is crazy because this is technically the worst he's going to be in his career, which is technically true. But to take that even like to even add more nuance to that, we're not even seeing the best of him as a rookie right now, right? Like there's still another level of him even in his own rookie season. And so that's really exciting. And I'm just so curious to see what is that level, and then what does he sustain? Because you never just reach this level and then you just like sustain it straight through. It's always a little bit of this. See, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, it's always a little bit of this. And that's why we see that. I talk about this a lot. When you have only maybe like the great quarterbacks or the good quarterbacks, they have typically bigger swings. Sometimes you have a good quarterback who doesn't have a lot of swings, but they're just at a lower level, right? And sometimes you have a great quarterbacks who also can't really hit that level, but they just are able to be a little bit more consistent. Great. So I'm curious to see what Jayden ends up being. If he ends up really showing these peaks where you're just like, that's unbelievable, but he has a few dips, or if he's just able to sustain a really high level of good to great right now with just a little bit of variance, like that's what I'm also really excited to see, because I think that's impossible to predict, quite frankly. You just have no idea what it will be. I don't care what anyone says. It's just really, really difficult to know what level of consistency any quarterback is going to have in the NFL. And what it will take to not only make someone like Jayden be consistent, but also continue to elevate his ceiling. So just such an exciting story. Happy for the Washington Commanders, happy for Jayden Daniels, happy for Cliff Kingsbury, Dan Quinn. I think they're both getting true second chances to show everyone what they can do. And the Washington Commanders aren't even they don't even have a team yet, quite frankly, right? Like a lot of people were like, hey, I'm really excited for Jayden and Cliff and Dan Quinn, but like I don't know if they have the pieces just yet. And it's like, just wait. That's also the benefit of you getting true progress this season, because then it sends sends the message to the owners and the GMs of like, keep making moves, go out there and get that wide receiver who wants to be off their team, whatever it may be, like the moves that the Texans made, the Packers made, the Eagles made, right? Like go out there, make some moves. We have a team, we have a squad. Let's go. Let's support this thing. It just sends that message to everyone. We're on the right track. Let's keep going. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes this season. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jayden Daniels? Are you surprised by their performance? Their performance so far? I guess that question is about Caleb and Jayden. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.